Successfully starting and finishing a publishable novel is often like fighting a series of battles. You not only have to work hard to shape memorable characters, develop gripping plots, and craft dazzling dialogue, but you also have to fight against self-doubts and fears. And then there's the challenge of learning to navigate the ever-changing publishing industry. That's why best-selling novelist James Scott Bell, author of the Write Great Fiction staples Plot and Structure and Revision and Self-Editing, came up with the ultimate novel writing battle plan, The Art of War for Writers. Hello all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sara. If you're new here, I usually do videos about books, about writing fiction, about productivity and self-development and learning, and focusing on creative challenges to help us achieve our goals. Today I have planned to talk a bit about this book here. It's called The Art of War for Writers by James Scott Bell. So I have been reading this book and taking a lot of notes, as you can kind of see. I found this book very useful and entertaining. I thought I could share a bit of what this book is about and what I think it might help us with, and some of the more fun exercises that we have here, because I'm planning to do a few. This is a work that crosses the writing experience and the teaching experience from James Scott Bell, and at the same time he uses another book as kind of a base to make some ideas come across. So he uses The Art of War by Sun Tzu, the original work, in which Sun Tzu tried to bring some orderly principles to war, to how to achieve some clarity in planning and executing their battles in order to be successful at them. So James Scott Bell wrote that a successful writing career must be built upon mental discipline. It means you have to write smart if you want to get published. In the introduction, James Scott Bell puts it like, this is not a comprehensive how-to on fiction. This is his attempt at a field manual for us writers, writing about behaviors and ideas that we have about craft and about the writing life, and things that we should take with another perspective than the usual one, which will get us nowhere. It's just, if we don't put the effort behind it, it's just a pipe dream. So this book has 3 parts. The first is reconnaissance, second is tactics, and third is strategy. Part 1, reconnaissance, it's about mental discipline. So gathering information based on observation behind enemy lines. So it's looking at how things are done and trying to gather that information that usually people don't have, using the terminology from the Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Observe the battlefield to be better equipped to plan strategy and tactics. Gather information to work smart, not just on war itself, but on our writing efforts. We must understand what exists, how this market is composed, how things work, and what we need to ensure that we have and that we focus on to have smart decisions in our careers and in our writing practices. On this first part, one thing that he focused on, and that usually writers and creatives tend to try and overlook, let's say it like that, is writing exists, but it has to make money. It has to we have to make a living from what we do, and if we are writers, we have to think that we need to make money from our writing, not just the practice existing in being there every day, but ensuring that we can stay in the field, in the writing field, because if we don't have any return on our investment, and we are investing our time, our efforts, our money, how can we survive like that? So, and this is true not just for us writers, it's true for the industry, it's true for the big publishing houses, and it's true for everyone that works in this industry, creating and selling and designing and proofreading and research and a lot of other things that are involved in writing a book. Another idea that I thought it was very interesting to think about things this way is usually publishers don't want to publish a novel. They want to publish a novelist. They want to publish someone that has greater chance of being a successful writer. So not just someone that approaches writing as a hobby or as an afterthought, but someone that devotes himself to being a better writer, being a professional. And this is something that publishers can see clearly, not just by reading what people write, but how they approach their audience, how they handle themselves in public, how the different parts of the writing career are handled by that person. So not just publishing one novel, but making sure that they have kind of a safe bet for publishing several novels for many years to come. And this is something that it's a bit different from country to country. So not everyone, not every market, not every language has this approach, because scalable products are needed, because not everything that is suitable for a market is suitable for other, and there are a lot of considerations here. There are some characteristics that a person must have or must acquire during their development as a writer. To be a long-term writer, as to be a long-term anything, we have to make a constant effort and find our best practices and learn other things and use that knowledge for planning, having tactics, so we can approach the market in a clever way. I have seen a recipe that I wanted to try out. So it's ketogenic diet. I am going to attempt to do some keto sushi. I think we can call it sushi. I don't know. Let's see how I manage this. This is the final look at my salmon sushi with some strawberries and blueberries and some stevia sweetened juice. I have a long story with this book. I have read it a few years ago. I have started it 3 or 4 times already. I can't say how many times. This is The Art of War for Writers by James Scott Bell. I also have a thing with this title because I usually exchange the war of art, the art of war, and okay. I have read Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Sun Tzu has wrote a treatise on the art of war. Sun Tzu was a Chinese military general that was truly devoted to understanding the art of war, how he could ensure winning. He made kind of a guide, a written guide for other military. But the thing is, he kind of wrote a strategic document, so it's something that has a lot of practical insights and knowledge that can be applied to other areas of this life. I have seen it applied to business, for example, to writing, to marketing. Of course, this has to be redirected, so this is a treaty about war efforts. There are things here that don't apply, but there are other things that we can extrapolate and put it in today's reality. The general that follows my counsel and acts upon it will conquer. Let such a one be retained in command. The general that doesn't follow my counsel nor acts upon it will suffer defeat. Let such one be dismissed. So modest, wasn't he? I even have done the work of comparing these two to see which phrases Bell and have made his own apply to the writing. I found that he soon detached from this book, so it was kind of a general thing, not truly specific to each line, which is understandable. This is a pretty simple and direct book, but at the same time it has a lot of knowledge here. This is quite quite simple and quite complex at the same time. The Art of War for writers has been inspired in this one. So he starts in the introduction like, Sun Tzu, so far as we know, never wrote a novel. What we know is that the author of The Art of War was a Chinese general writing sometime between 400 and 320 BC, who recorded his aphorisms based upon actual experience in the field. By bringing orderly principles to bear, he enabled generals to finally achieve clarity in planning for battle. Part 2. Tactics. James Scott Bell chose 2 quotes to start the second part of this book. One is from Sun Tzu, which is interesting and important enough, but the one that kind of struck a chord with me was the second one by Catherine Neville, and she writes, "Write. Remember, people may keep you, or me, from being a published author, but no one can stop you from being a writer. All you have to do is write, and keep writing, while you're working at a career, while you're raising children, while you're trout fishing. Keep writing, no one can stop you but you." Part 2 of this book is a lengthy one, as you can see, and it talks mostly about craft, not as detailed as other books from James Scott Bell, because he has a few that deals with different aspects from the writing craft. In this one, he writes that he wants us to have some techniques so we can put in our toolbox to use in our writings. So things are not too detailed, but there are very important ideas here that we should accumulate in order to have some advantage in our practices and to have some clarity in things when we are writing and when we are planning what to write next. Sun Tzu understood that it was the accumulation of small advantages that added up to long-term victory. Yes, I do believe he is right. These are some techniques more devoted to how we look at our writing efforts, things that we do in our writing process, in our editing process, in the story levels, how we should handle our writing pace and why we should handle it a certain way. Also about inner struggle from our characters and how this inner struggle helps us compose a story that draw readers in. How we should pay attention to how a story is moving forward, making all of our scenes great scenes, not just fillers for something, but using our best judgment to do the right choices for our characters, the choices that gives us more excitement, more pain, more action, more emotional tension, and some other tactics that we should be mindful of and that we should be accountable for putting those things in and paying attention to those details, because in the end it's the accumulation of all of these details, of all of this planning and plotting and putting things in the right places that will give us a good experience in the end when we read a book. Of course, there's nothing perfect. There are some stories that don't achieve some mastery level and never will, but even if we edit them a lot, especially when we are beginning, because when we are in the beginning of our writings, of our writing life, we most of us don't know quite well how to say things and how to write things, and don't have our writing voice fully developed, and don't have some notions on how we can do some things without being cliche, without being thoroughly overwritten. And it's fun to give it space to grow, not just start writing and expecting it to be perfect or the best we can do, or something that everybody would love, because that's not realistic. Usually writing requires a lot of practice, a lot of time. Writing continuously and trying to learn how we can improve in our writing, and it's made from our personal thumbprint. We can identify who written something when we are very familiarized with their writing voice, and usually they had developed that thumbprint, that writing thumbprint, that it's theirs, that they worked for it. It's fun to see that thing, our way of writing, our writing voice emerge when we keep practicing. Part 3 of this book, it's strategy, and it's about the publishing business. It's about possibilities and taking a long strategic view of your career and the quality of your work and what that quality comprises. It's about having a business mindset and looking at books as a product, as our product. Also tying everything with what we have, what the book speaks about in previous chapters. So having a clear idea of what we want to do with our writing practice, how much we want to invest in it, and how we can have a strategic view of its future and our future as writers, and which factors imply success and imply that we have a long career. In this part he also talks about our goals, what we want to do in our writing life, how networking is important, and how productivity and finding those strategies that help us be more productive, aligned with what we envisioned for our writing career, and how we should pay attention to even small details, like having a good synopsis and have it in the tip of our tongue, and having a mindful plan of our actions, doing the more practical efforts to ensure our writing gets to the right places and gets seen by different people. Also promotion of our book and having a platform where people can find us, how to deal with criticism. So there are a lot of wisdom in this book, there are a lot of nuggets that we can pluck from here and apply to our experience, to our writing career, to what we want our writing career to be, and how to change ourselves in order to be the person we need to be to achieve those goals. The Art of War for Writers gives us a final quote by Sun Tzu, which is, "The commander stands for the virtues of wisdom, sincerity, benevolence, courage, and strictness." James Scott Bell writes a bit about each one of these and relates it to having some self-control, also in line with some things that I have been reading and listening to. This kind of reminds me of a book that I was reading, to which I made a video about, which is Self-Discipline, the Neuroscience by Ray Clear. I will leave the link above. This self-discipline, this self-control, this self-mastery, things that we need to have a good hard look at if we are really determined to pursue a writing career, to keep writing, to have even our daily practices. If we don't master ourselves and if we don't have the self-control needed to order ourselves to sit and write, no matter the circumstances, no matter the time, no matter what we have to do, we will never be able to be the professional that we want to be. I think it's very important for us to keep learning and to keep pursuing our craft by reading what other people have thought, made, experienced during their writing careers. And I think we should have the space in our life to read these books and to integrate their knowledge. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have taken something for your creative life, for your practices. So thank you so much for watching. I hope everything is okay over there, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.